If you want to hear the rehash, go watch the first part. Right now, we're reading about a guy called J. Stuart Blackton. I'll reread this because this is interesting. J. Stuart Blackton was a British American, January 5th, 1875, August 13th, 1941. Was a British American film producer and director of the silent era. One of the pioneers of motion pictures. One of the pioneers of motion pictures. He founded Vitagraph Studios in 1897. He was one of the first filmmakers to use the techniques of stop motion and draw animation. Is considered a father of American animation and was the key there, American animation, because there's probably a much richer, longer history going back to like France and shit like that. But they do this. It's weird how you see this. And was one of the first to bring many classic plays and books to the screen, right? Because back then you could just take other people's work and make your own stuff out of it, and you didn't have to pay them or anything. You could just, you wrote a book, I'm going to make it a film, and who's going to stop me? I guess. Blackton was also the Commodore of the Motorboat Club of America and the American Yacht Club. Just in case you wanted to know those extra things. This is supposedly him in 1912. Doesn't he look like he's he's fooling you, like he's almost guilty of something there? Crazy how he was married 4 times. He was only 66 when he died. He was married from 1897 to 1906 to Isabel MacArthur. 1908 to 1930, where Paula Hilburn died. And then Rachel Helen Stahl from 1931 to 1933, where she died. And then Evangeline Russell in 1936, where he must have died afterward. Okay, so it's kind of, I know this like might be boring, but you gotta listen. James Stuart Blackton was born on January 5th, 1875 in Sheffield, Yorkshire, England, to Henry Blackton and Jessie Stewart. Henry Blackton immigrated with his family to the United States in 1885 and changed the family name to Blackton. You know, that sounds like a reasonable thing to do, right? You're gonna change your name from Blackton, T-I-N, to Blackton, T-O-N. What is the fucking point? I can't even wrap my head around any like legitimate, that makes sense kind of point. I could see like conspiracy shit kind of point. But to be like, oh no, that makes total sense, right? Like, you change one letter in the spelling of your name. Why wouldn't you? So then we just jump to, he worked as a reporter and an illustrator for the New York Evening World, which I would imagine was a pretty prestigious gig. But we don't get to know how or why. And performed regularly on stage with conjurer Albert Smith, because these polymaths back then, they could do anything. In 1896, Thomas Edison publicly demonstrated the Vitascope, one of the first film projectors, and Blackton was sent to interview Edison and provide drawings of how his films were made. Eager for good publicity, Edison took Blackton to his Black Maria, the special cabin he used to do his filming, and created a film on the spot of Blackton doing a lightning portrait of Edison. The inventor did such a good job selling the art of movie making that he talked Blackton and partner Smith into buying a print of the new film, as well as prints of 9 other films, plus a Vitascope to show them to paying audiences. They had that shit figured out. The new act was a great success, despite various things Blackton and Smith were doing between the Edison films, because again, these polymaths. The next step was to start making films of their own. In this way, the American Vitagraph Company was born. During this period, J. Stuart Blackton ran the Vitagraph studio and produced, directed, and wrote its films. He even starred in some of his films, playing the comic strip character Happy Hooligan in a series of shorts. You know how that works. Polymath. Since profits were constantly increasing, Blackton felt that he could try any idea that sprang to his head. And in this series, in a series of films, Blackton developed the concepts of animation. Just like that. So a part that was in the previous video that you guys didn't see is that apparently the idea of putting a bunch of pictures on on pages slightly differently and then flipping through it to make it look like the thing is moving was invented in 1868. Everything comes after the reset. It's really interesting how that happens. This is why this is a Tartaria reset audit. Animation films. The first of his animation films is The Enchanted Drawing. I'm not even going to keep reading on that. I am going to jump right to The Enchanted Drawing to know what it is. On the way. The Enchanted Drawing is a 1900 silent trick film directed by James J. Stewart Blackton. It is best known for containing the first animated sequences recorded on standard picture film, which has led Blackton to be considered the father of American animation. So here it is. This is really boring. To think that somebody found this entertaining at some point is. Yay, alcohol! I mean, that's not really animation, though, is it? What? That's definitely not animation. The Enchanted Drawing. That's it, huh? With a copyright date in 1900, but probably made at least a year earlier, in this film, Blackton sketches a face, a bottle of wine in a glass, a top hat, and a cigar. During the film, he appears to remove the wine glass and the cigar as real objects, and the face appears to react. The animation here is the stop action variety, where the camera is stopped, a single change is made, and the camera is then started again. The process was first used by George Méliès and others. Who is this guy? Marie-Georges Jean Méliès, born December 8th, 1861, died on January 21st, 1938. He is same age. It's basically the same. So again, all these people are so well connected to each other back then, huh? French magician, actor, and film director. He led many technical and narrative developments in the early days of cinema, primarily in the fantasy and science fiction genre. Méliès rose to prominence creating trick films and became well known for his innovative use of special effects, popularizing such techniques as substitution splices, multiple exposures, time-lapse photography, dissolves, and hand-painted color. He just did it all. He was one of the first filmmakers to use storyboards in his work. His most important films include A Trip to the Moon in 1902 and The Impossible Wager. A Trip to the Moon in 1902. A Trip to the Moon is a 1902 French science fiction adventure trick film written. Oh, that's the one we've all seen, right? That's that thing. Ah. Written, directed, and produced by George Méliès, inspired by Jules Verne's 1865 novel From the Earth to the Moon. And now I want to read that. And its 1870 sequel, Around the Moon. The film follows a group of astronomers who travel to the moon in a cannon-propelled capsule, explore the moon's surface, escape from an underground group of Selenites. Selenites. And return to Earth with a captive Selenite. Méliès leads an ensemble cast of French theatrical performers as the main character, Professor Barbinfluous. Barbinfluous. Barbinfluous? Barbiturates? Wow. Okay. Although the film disappeared into obscurity after Méliès' retirement from the film industry, it was rediscovered around 1930, when Méliès' importance to the history of cinema was beginning to be recognized by film devotees. An original hand-colored print was discovered in 1993 and restored in 2011. A Trip to the Moon was ranked 84th among the 100 greatest films of the 20th century by the Village Voice, although, was it? The film remains Méliès' best known, and the moment when the capsule lands in the moon's eye remains one of the most iconic and frequently referenced images in the history of cinema. The plot. I think we already know the plot. Okay, whatever. Marie-Georges Jean Méliès was born December 8th, 1861 in Paris, son of Jean-Louis Méliès and his Dutch wife, Johanna Catherine Sersching. Man, the Dutch and the French, huh? That seems like that's just an easy trip to make, I guess, back then, huh? His father had moved to Paris in 1843 as a shoemaker and began working at a boot factory where he met Méliès' mother, Johann Catherine's father, Johanna Catherine. Johanna Catherine's father had been the official bootmaker of the Dutch. Oh God! You know what? I'm done. It's fucking crazy. There's your one of your first images. That should tell you everything. That's all you need to know. Pedophiles, kill yourself.